This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp to provide you with access to the largest online therapy service in the world. And it can all be done from the comfort of your own home, from a phone, tablet or laptop. No commute, cutting down travel costs, and most importantly, it's affordable. With over 1,000 therapists in the UK, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise in mental health. If you need someone to talk to and you're thinking of giving therapy a go, BetterHelp is a great option. And being a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lifeandfilm. That's betterhelp.com/lifeandfilm. Welcome to A Life in Film. I'm Elliot James Langridge. I'm an actor, writer, and apparently a podcaster, and I love film. This is the podcast that we ask our guests from in front and behind the camera, how did they get their foot in the door? What was the key to unlocking their success? What's their story? Previous guests include Toby Jones, Sam Clement, Natalie Emmanuel, Andrea Riseborough, and Tony Curran, to name a few. Today's guest is an actor with an outrageous list of credits, including Joker, Wolf of Wall Street, True Detective, Silver Linings Playbook, and he's also been in multiple Fast and Furious installments. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We chat about how Martin Scorsese offered him a lead role only for the studio to take it away, but 10 years later Scorsese remembered him and cast him in his life-changing role in Boardwalk Empire. How his kids told him he had to accept the offer to be in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. We also touch on joining the world of Yellowstone with the latest spin-off, the Bass Reeves Story, and why he wouldn't want to be anywhere else than on a train with Tom Cruise shooting Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. And let's not forget his most embarrassing moment with Chris Rock. Our guest today is actor Shea Wigham.
It's a life in film. 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 Woo!
Hello. How's it going, man?
Hey man, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm very good. Thanks for taking the time, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey man, thank you, man. Thank you.
All good.
Where
All
you coming?
good.
Where you coming from?
So, London.
I was in your neck of the woods for much of Mission filming.
Right.
I lived over there. Yeah.
How long did the shoot take? Because obviously, I mean, there's two parts, isn't there, to this one, which even better.
Yeah. Well, the first one, man, everything is skewed because of COVID. It took longer than but I mean, the first one took a while, man. Took a while. Years.
Yeah. I guess. Well, I heard a lot in the press that it was almost as if Tom Cruise was kind of leading the way, with the film that was fighting through and still actually filming throughout a lot of the pandemic, and then obviously Top Gun 2 came out, and that almost was like it kind of reinvigorated cinema as well. So we have a lot to thank Mr. Cruise for.
Yeah. Yes, to all the above.
Well, before we get on to obviously the new movie, the new Mission Impossible, which I'm very excited about, hugely anticipated movie. I'd like to go back to how it all began for you. I heard a little story that you may have been pretty good at tennis at one point, and you were almost you had a scholarship, and you were maybe going that way, or was it? How did it all begin for you?
Well, as these things over the years get a little embellished,
Right.
I was a pretty good athlete. I could knock around, I could knock around, and so I was pretty good. I was good friends with a guy named Jim Courier, who became number one in the world. It was
Wow.
I'm older than you, but it was Chang, Courier, Sampras, and Agassi. Those
Yeah, I
were the four
remember
guys,
Agassi and Sampras. Yeah.
So Courier ascended to number one in the world. So I knew him, and I was in New York. I had a small theater company. I was drowning basically. I didn't know how to figure this acting thing out, and I remember Courier would come every year to the U.S. Open, and I knew for 2 weeks I could he'd come out, hang out, watch me practice, and he and I would talk about, oddly enough, about film and books we were reading and theater. And for 2 weeks, it really lifted my spirits. And I kind of woven that into the narrative a little bit. But I could bang them around a little bit. I could get out there and you know. Why do you play? Do you do it?
I don't at all. I'm awful. I think people say, don't they, that you're either tennis or badminton. And I've always played badminton, and therefore my tennis is dreadful.
Yeah.
Same with what's it called? Squash. I love squash
Yeah.
as well, which is again a very different thing, but
Yeah, I know
always
nothing
been
about
dreadful.
that.
Do you still play tennis every now and then? Do you still get to do it as a bit of fun?
Man, I will a little bit. I didn't play. I didn't even hit the ball for like 25 years, to be honest with you. And oddly enough, you want to hear a funny story? My wife plays, and Dave Grohl's wife from Nirvana and the Foo Fighters, Dave
Right,
Grohl,
yeah.
and play together. They really play. And so Dave and I go out there and cheer them on, and
Amazing.
so we have this really kind of serendipitous, interesting. They're so supportive of he and I. Our wives are so supportive that it gives us a chance to go out. So we find ourselves watching them, and they're doing well, and it's pretty cool.
Not tempted to get involved and go out and hit a few balls? No.
Well, I mean, I no, so I do a little bit with her. I'll kick it around a little bit, but a little bit.
So how did that happen then? You obviously you got this scholarship. That was kind of what you were doing, and then how did the acting come about? How did that kind of come into your life?
Yeah, man, I think it's like so many. I think it's like so many people that find their way into acting. You
Mm,
want to be an actor when you're young. You just don't know. I didn't know anyone that did it. I like to say people like Pacino and De Niro might as well have been aliens to me. You know what I mean? That's how
mm,
I couldn't fathom those, Brando. So my father and mother would show me. They were showing me. They'd show me. They'd show me a Brando film, and my old man would be like, son, they say this is the best actor on the planet here. You know what I mean? And I just loved it. So I wanted to figure out. I wanted to find. I was secretly. I was in the closet on how being an actor. I didn't tell anybody, and so then I had this mastermind plan. If I could get to college or get to somewhere, maybe I could get to somewhere else. And sure enough, I got to Texas. I kicked around Texas for a minute, and somebody spotted me, and I was doing crazy poetry readings, and they were like, "Do you want to be an actor?" And I said, "Bingo, boingo, I want to be an actor."
mhm.
And so they took me to San Antonio, and I auditioned for Carnegie Mellon and NYU and SUNY Purchase, and then I found my way to New York, and that was where I knew all. I didn't know anything, man. I mean, I didn't know anything about anything, and I knew though that De Niro and Pacino and Brando had all started there. So
Mm.
I'm going to New York. I don't care how I get there, So that was how, you know.
I mean, those are some pretty great actors to look up to there. I mean, it doesn't get any better than those. And what sort of age were you at that point?
Well, I mean, when you get out of high school, what we call high school here, and I was like 17, 18 years old,
Mm,
and I mean, I gave you the shortest form. I mean, it took a long time to figure out. I
yeah.
didn't make it. I didn't quote unquote make it. I didn't do my first film until I was 30 years old, Tigerland. So
Really?
I
Wow.
was banging around theater, little tiny theater, doing readings and so yeah, it took me. I mean, that was at 17, 18, and I didn't do Tigerland until I was 30,
Mm,
29, 30, something like that. Yeah,
wow. But not a bad film to start with. Something like that is it's pretty good off the bat.
yeah.
Michael Schumacher. I mean, that's Michael Schumacher, not Michael
Joel,
Schumacher. Joel Schumacher.
two
Apologies. Yeah, I mean that's
greats. We'll say that.
yeah,
Two
yeah, yeah.
greats.
Two greats, two greats. What was that like going on to a movie? Something as big as that, and going on there, and obviously, I guess Colin Farrell was really on the up then, but like the whole cast is incredible. Have you got memories of going on and doing that movie?
I mean, you get, this thing is full of luck. in a lot of ways. I mean, you do all the work and you learn, you how would you, like you do all the training and all the work, but you need luck. And I got so lucky on that. Joel was known for spotting talent and taking a chance on it. I mean, so often with what we do, you'll see someone enormously talented and they'll go with someone who's not as talented because they mean, they're a name. And Joel, whether it was Julia Roberts or Colin and myself or McConaughey, he would take that chance. And so you get enormously lucky. And then Joel would, I mean, Colin wasn't a name at the start. He was this Irish kid. And then he got shot out of a cannon on that thing. I mean, we watched him go from, he was living with me on my couch and my wife's couch and my two kids. And we were walking the streets of New York. And the next day after this cover of a magazine came out, he couldn't walk the streets of New York anymore.
Wow.
I mean, it was that instantaneous. It was like the only other thing I can think it was like Brad Pitt and Thelma and Louise. It was like something happened. And it wasn't him trying to manufacture it like so many people do today. Like they try to get on Instagram and get on TikTok or whatever the hell you have. Like they want to put the cart before the horse. He put the performance in and people responded viscerally to it,
Mm-hmm.
So and we would, I mean, it was amazing, man. Like when I look back to that, like, I mean, I still in my library, I have the Schumacher picture that of Joel, that's one of the things that I don't carry much around about no mementos, but that's one I carry.
Well, he was one of those directors, wasn't he, that he just had such versatility. He did so many incredible movies and they were so different. I mean, a great, great talent and an amazing person to work with so early on in your career as well. But I mean, you've worked with some of the absolute greats. I heard a little story that you had about yeah, we'll see how accurate it was. But no, I saw a clip and you were chatting about how working with Martin Scorsese came about. And essentially it was kind of, a near miss, and then actually that near miss became a good thing long down the road. But I mean, can you tell the story of how you got Boardwalk Empire and we kind of nearly worked with him before that, didn't you? If I'm right in thinking.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those. It's one of those. It reaffirms how you treat people in life. It kind of comes back to you. Not always, is not, but so I'm doing Tigerland. Here's the story. So I'm doing Tigerland, and Colin. It's very apparent Colin they're sending dailies back to California and New York, and people are looking at his work, and Marty, then looking at Colin's work, saw myself and Colin in the scene. So I get a call, and Scorsese had never done television. I mean, he was, he's just Scorsese, he's just film. He says, so I get a call, and he says, listen, I'm coming to television for the first time. Would you come up to New York and audition for me? It's the lead in this program. I'm there. So I fly up. I mean, imagine me, man. I fly up from Jacksonville, Florida. I tell all the boys, I tell them all, I'm like, I'm going up with Mr. Scorsese, and I go up there, and we have first of all, my heart's beating out through my chest. I can't believe, like, I can barely get it together. And he asked if he could read with me. And so I'm like, sure, Mr. Scorsese. No, call me Marty. And I said, okay. So we do this 2-hour read of the scenes, read through the scenes. And when we get done, he says, I found my guy. You're my guy. Of course, I'm weeping basically inside. I'm holding it together. We go out to dinner that night. We have drinks, celebrating. I go back down to Jacksonville. No longer, I get down there, no cell phones. And they have this little phone with a blinking red light to let you know you have a message in the small hotel. And it's Scorsese on the phone. And Marty says, listen, I don't know what's going on, but the network's not going to let me hire you. I'm so sorry. So I listened to the message. I'm not talking to him. I listened to the message, and I'm broke. I mean, it brings me to my knees. And I call my father, and I'm like, I had it. No, I don't. And he's like, let him off the hook. This is probably what you're talking about. He goes, let him off the hook, you know? So I got myself together and I called Scorsese, Mr. Scorsese, and I said, don't worry, Marty. No, the fact that I got to come up there with you was, this has been amazing. And he kind of was like, I won't forget this kid, you know? 10
Wow,
years, a
man.
decade later, they're casting for Boardwalk Empire. They send me for a small part of a boat captain. I mean, a tiny part in the pilot episode. And I go in, and Ellen Lewis is his casting director, the great of the greats casting. She's casted all Marty's stuff. And she says, why are you coming in for this? And I said, I don't know. I want to be a part of it. She goes, no. You should read for the brother. She goes, go outside, take these, go outside. I went outside the door. I came back in. I put this down. And she's like, I'm going to show Marty this. Shows it to him. And HBO at the time was asking for every Chris and Ryan, you know, everybody to do this part. And she tells Scorsese, she says, Marty, you remember a decade ago when you wanted him for the other thing? And he said, yeah. He went with me, man. He went with me
Wow.
because of, you know, he told me when I got on set, you know, he was like, you let me off the hook. And I was very appreciative of that. You know, you didn't
Mm-hmm.
come at me hard. And so, I mean, you know, it goes to show you sometimes you get lucky and it comes back to you.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been an absolutely heartbreaking moment though, when you got the call and he was like, you know, the studio's not going for it. And to know now, obviously 10 years later, you got this other part. I mean, but I mean, that's a great lesson in just being, you know, being nice, true to yourself, and just taking a step back and not getting emotional about something.
I
God,
think
yeah,
you're
that.
right, man. I think it's the same way, man. In acting, I humble and hungry. You know what I mean?
Mm,
You got to stay really humble in this thing because at some point, you know, it's not going to go your way. It's too difficult. I mean, you know what I mean? So, and then you just got to stay as hungry as you can so that you don't start resting on your you know, loyals, and you continue to, you know, try to get better at this thing. That, you know what I mean?
mm,
That's the thing with acting. It's not like sports where if you're playing professional soccer or football, as you call it, or basketball over here or whatever, after Father Time is undefeated in a sport. You at some point the law of diminishing returns. You're going to get old, and you're not going to be the same with acting. I think you can continue. I mean, look at Tony Hopkins, who I've
mm.
worked with, or look at Harrison Ford at 80.
Yeah,
He's
man.
Indiana Jones, you know. So I think you can continue to get, if you choose to really try to keep, you know.
That is the beautiful thing because there isn't many professions where you can be at the peak of your game at almost any age. And obviously, as you get older, you have more experience, you have more time on set and everything else. So, yeah, I mean, that's the beautiful thing of acting. I'm an actor myself as well, and we're
Oh
not on
yeah,
your level at all. But I'm working hard to sort of get there, and I've done a few films. But it's that for me, I find that the downtime, the hardest bit in between those jobs. And I'm sure now you don't, there's smaller and smaller gaps between the jobs that you do. But when you were younger and you were kind of coming up in the game, did you have what did you do in between the jobs? Did you have sort of coping mechanisms, anything that kind of helped you get through the dry spots?
um I was gonna have a smart ass comment here, but I'm getting in trouble from my. I was gonna be funny there. Read. This is what I tell everybody. I tell a lot of these young actors, you know, I'm working right now on something, and I'm like, I read. I try to read voraciously. You know what I mean? To because instead of looking at, I'm always like, get off your phone because that's all
Mhm.
coming at you. When you read, you take yourself, and the imagination continues to get sparked. Like, I mean, I'm right now. I got a couple of books going. Like, this won the Pulitzer um, 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? You constantly like you're reading you're I don't know. And it's tough, man. I'm not gonna lie. You know, it's brutal being an actor. The downtime.
Mm, mm.
You know, like I have a saying like, pay me for when I'm not working. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do it for free. That's the big secret. You know what I mean? But pay me
Yeah.
for when, you know what I mean? So
We'll cut that bit out. We don't want that getting out. They'll start asking
I
you.
don't want anybody listening to this. Yeah, cut that out, please. Nicole Perno, my friend Nicole Perno will be mad at me, Paul.
But yeah, reading's a great one, and I find like trying to write scripts. Trying is the key word there, but like anything that kind of keeps your imagination going. So I totally get that with the reading. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Being stuck on your phone
Yeah.
is kind of the worst thing because I was chatting to my mate the other day who's also an actor, and he said like the worst case scenario is when you're out of work, you're on your phone and you're looking at social media, looking at all the other actors that are working or supposedly working. You're watching TV and then you're therefore watching all the actors that are working. So it's kind of hard to get away from it. With a book, you use your imagination. You're not seeing all these other people taking the jobs that you wish you had. Um, so I think, yeah, that's a nice way of relaxing and using your
Don't,
imagination.
yeah, man. You don't get caught up in that. You know what I mean? It's funny going back to Tigerland. I was always so happy for Colin and the other boys that got work. I didn't work for a year and a half after Tigerland.
Wow.
Uh, and everyone else started really, and I really vowed to myself, I made myself a promise, like I would never let that eat me up inside. Like I'm always happy for others that when they get, you know what I mean? And that
Mm.
keeps you, since you don't, doesn't, it can be tricky if you're not careful. If you're like, why did they so and so get that, or why did they get that and I didn't get that? You know what I mean? Yeah,
Mm,
stay off social media.
mm. Yeah.
That's the death knell for you, man. If like, you know, with what we do, I think.
I guess the landscape has changed a lot since you started, and I mean, even for me, things have. It feels like auditioning, even the process of going on tape instead of maybe perhaps going in the room, and it's changed so much. I mean, you've been doing this decades. I don't want to give away how long exactly, but like,
Easy,
have you
brother.
seen the
Easy.
landscape?
Easy.
Easy now, easy.
Decades. Whoa.
Okay, decade with
No,
the
no,
small
no,
s.
no. Now go ahead.
But yeah, how has the landscape changed from your point of view? What have you seen? Like, what's the kind of the biggest change since you started out?
Well, I mean, that's a big change. I hear about this. I don't, I'm not afraid to audition or to lay stuff down. That's another hard and fast rule of mine is like, if I want something, I will go for it. You know what I mean? I I think that would be a huge challenge because you get in the room and people, our business, what we do is all about connection. So if you see something on the tape, someone might be able to get lucky and throw an audition down, but they may not be able to connect in the room, and that's something for me that's huge. You know what I mean? When I get in a scene with an actor, maybe I don't know, and you haven't had a chance. Is the feel out process. You know what I mean? That you're and so that would be a big change that everything's put down on tape.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, it's that
uh,
it's that connection, isn't it? When you're in the room, it's such a different thing because you're not just you're not just showing you can do the part, you're also selling yourself as a person that they want to work with, like someone that they can chat to, and there's a rapport there. Um,
yeah,
it's very sterile just doing a tape. I
yeah, yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it must be very difficult for the casting director when they're just watching, you know, tons and
yeah.
tons of
And I
tapes.
mean, they're great. They're great at it. I'm sure. I mean, they figure it out. People like the Ellen Lewis that I mentioned, any of the like, yeah, but that's a big change, I think. Yeah.
Mm. Well, you mentioned yeah, I mean, obviously Scorsese and he has his collaboratives that are always kind of involved with his films, a casting director being one of them. You were obviously in Wolf of Wall Street as well, which I have to say is one of my favorite films. That film, when I first saw it, had me crying with laughter.
Mhm.
I mean, that must have been great as well to kind of be a part of such a. I mean, Boardwalk Empire's got a great cast, but Wolf of Wall Street as well is a phenomenal cast, and to be,
Yeah.
your part on you're obviously on the yacht with Leo, and then you've got Jonah Hill there and all that. how fun was that working on that? Was there a lot of improvisation? I can imagine Jonah Hill being
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
wild.
it's good. Yeah, it's good. I was doing Boardwalk at the time, and uh, you know, Scorsese was the producer, and so they were shooting in this. We were shooting in the same at Steiner Studios. So Scorsese, Marty actually just came down and asked, "Would you do this for me? Would you come in and do this boat captain? You know what I mean?" So
Amazing.
it just you get, and those stories are not lost on me. I mean, I think
Mm,
they're becoming lost, because of, like I said, TikTok is a 10-second. So people, the storytelling of, oh, this happened, and Scorsese came down and asked me to do the boat captain, and I hadn't worked with DiCaprio yet, and the thing about him is how, yes, there is improv. All Marty's stuff. Marty, he says, let's fuss it up. Let's see what can happen. But Leo is enormously prepared, and that's one of the things that I really took away with that. And then Jonah, obviously, they were really pinging off each other real well, working off. And so I jumped in, and but even in that, you're playing high comedy, but you're going for the truth. You're always going for the
mm,
truth. You're not winking at the camera. So those cats can really understand, how to do both of those.
mm, mm,
And so yeah, man, I mean, I look back, the thing that got everything started for me was Boardwalk. Once I had that, I was able to, I went to Tim Van Patten, my director, and Terry Winter, and I said, I just have one ask. If I could, to do the show. And they said, what is it? And I said, if any of the great directors ask me, I want to be able to do that. And I know, and if I can, I can't. That's fine. And they said, you have our promise. And not every show would do this. Some shows they locked you up and they go, you can't work while we're doing our show. So man, I got to work with, because that was my whole thing. If I can get on a set with some of these greats, work begets work. So I went to work with Oliver Stone, Scorsese a couple of times, David O. Russell in Silver Linings Playbook and American Hustle. I was knocking down Werner Herzog, Terrence Malick, like Terry Malick, and then the young cats coming through like Cary Fukunaga, you know, um, um, True Detective,
oh
Jeff
man,
Nichols, Damien
so good.
Chazelle, I worked with, so I got lucky, man. I mean, that you just, again, you take care of the work, you hope you take care of the work, and it doesn't always happen,
Mm,
but I got lucky, man. Boardwalk was the linchpin that really,
mm.
it, I'll look back on this to that, and then that got True Detective, and people saw Preacher Therio there, and then that got blah blah blah. So
Can I ask how? Because I'm always, the thing that we talked about, you should never do compare yourself to other actors. But how old were you when you got that? I mean, you say that was kind of your that moment where you went, okay, this is working now. Getting Boardwalk Empire. How old were you around that time?
let's see. I must have been 20, 30, maybe I was 38, 39 when it
Really?
started. Maybe
Yeah,
a little bit younger,
yeah.
And we went for 5 seasons, but it times out a little longer than just 5 seasons because then they have
Mm.
to write. It went probably 8 years and all encompassing. But yeah, I mean, God, I remember, like I said, I got that. I went in the first time and I had long hair, like I kind of like I'm doing this thing right now. I had long, and I did the audition, and they go, "You need to cut it. This is, we're in 1929," and I went and had a makeover, a little pretty makeover, and cut the beard and everything, and and then I remember, man. holding my breath because I hit it, and they're like, Marty really wants you to do this. And I knew that HBO was making him try to see, like I said, all the Ryans and Chris and and everybody that had a name. And I kept hearing quietly, this is why I owe Ellen Lewis so much. Quietly, she's like, Marty's not seeing anybody. You're his guy. He won't even
Nice.
look. And that's what you need. Like I needed that. I
Mm,
needed that. You know what I mean? Because they'd cast Buscemi, they'd cast Steve, and Tim Van Patten didn't really know my work yet. He was coming off of The Sopranos, and he's the best to his day. He's like my closest friend now. He directs early Game of Thrones and all of the best
mm, mm.
Sopranos and Boardwalks, and and then you just you worry about the work. You make it. It's all about the work. I don't know. Does that
Yeah,
answer your question?
no, yeah, no, that does that. I mean, it's what an incredible, and yet to have everyone needs their champion, someone that champions them, and having Scorsese be that man. I mean, that's as he said, you're my guy. That's what you want to hear. That's what any actor wants to hear. Someone like that saying, "I got your back. I got your back here."
You know what else, man, is like I said, I keep impressing upon to you. There are these people that are before Scorsese, are before Tim Van Pattens, are before Matt Ross, who directed me in Gaslit, Igor and Liddy. They're the casting directors. That's who you got to make sure that you come in ready to go, that you thought ad nauseum about this character, that you make sure you're prepared because they're mostly women that have been good to me. There's a couple of men casting directors that have been really good to me, but mostly these women and these they put you in touch with Marty, and they're so vital. They're our lifeblood, man. You know what
Mm,
I mean?
mm,
These casting directors, they're they're they mean everything to you in your early stages. You know what I mean?
mm. Look, we've had a lot of casting directors on here, and that's the amazing thing. I mean, it's great getting to talk to people like you, to the casting directors, and all these amazing people. But it's very rare for an actor to get to talk to a casting director for 45 to an hour. Um, and it's amazing the stories you hear, and I mean, you're one of the actors that I've always looked up to, and it feels like you've been around forever. But then I was surprised when I looked in depth at your CV. I was like, well, actually, you've been doing this a long time, but in my head, it's like my whole entire life. But actually, it's not. And you've crammed in
Yeah.
so much. I feel like, have there been
I'm,
points where you've been out of work? Because I feel like I know you said you didn't work for a year and a half
man,
after Tigerland, but
yeah, I'm like a depression era baby. You know what I mean? Where if you grew up in that era, you think it's all going to go away. You're never going to eat again. You're going to be standing in bread. And I'm not making light of it. It's a term we use over here, meaning I had it, I had it tough in the early going. You know what I mean?
good.
Nothing was
That's what we
given.
want to hear, though. That's the shit we need to hear.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
I, I had it tough, man. And, um, I think that's what made me. You know what I mean? So you're always wondering. It's either like Pacino said it or something that they're going to find. I got them fooled right now, but they're going to find out I can't act. I think it was him or Hoffman. And once you start to do some of this work, and I mean, there's no place in the world. I mean, I whisper to Cruz sometimes. There's no place I'd want to be but right here, right now. You know what I mean? With
Mm, mm,
Macquarie directing and Cruz there and us on top of a train. And it's true, man. I mean, sometimes at the expense of your family and your friends and your pets and your this and that and your graduations and birthdays, which I end up missing. You really mean it. I'd rather be nowhere but right here, right now,
mm,
you know?
mm.
And but it's yeah, it's hard to that's that I so so I it, there's two things, brother. Two things. Number one, it's hard to say no. I don't care what Marty offered me, or like I'm doing a script. I'm doing something right now, written by Mark L. Smith. Tell me if I'm rambling on too much.
No, no, no,
Uh,
no. I'm really
Mark
no.
L.
Keep
Smith
going.
wrote The Revenant, right?
Hmm.
He wrote The Revenant. He's one of our great writers, and he passed me something, and I basically said, I don't even need to read it. I'm doing it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I can't say no to, like, if Scorsese or if Tim Van Patten or if Damien Chazelle or whoever came to me, I would. But also, I can't say no to someone's dreams. Like Mike Shannon and I, we go and do a bunch of stuff together. People that like maybe cobble all their savings together to shoot something, and like I'm a sucker for somebody's dream. They're one piece that they have to get up. So I'll feather in small pieces. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
maybe it looks like I'm working a lot more than I am. You know?
It's a great illusion if you are.
Yeah.
That's great though to hear that you work on smaller projects, that you give people a chance, because then they become, they're going to be the next Scorsese or whatever it may be, and it's that it goes back to that playing it forward as well, where you never know who you're going to meet on the way up, you never know who you're going to meet on the way down. Always be kind, always be nice. I'll remember that. If I ever
Yeah.
get my act together and get a good script, I'll try and get it your way.
That was before. Now I only work for like 10 million. No. I don't do that anymore. That sounded
That was a very
no, I'm kidding.
short space of time. It's over. It's
I'm like,
over.
yeah. No, no, no.
Now for a quick break. Are you a writer, director, actor, costume designer, perhaps makeup artist? Are you interested in camera? This is the place to share your journey. We want to hear from you. How did you start your career? Has it started yet? And perhaps, if you're feeling brave, share with us your most embarrassing film-related moment. So slip into our DMs at Life in Film Pod on Instagram. Check out the Patreon at patreon.com/Life in Film, where you'll get episodes early and uncut, amongst other treats. And don't forget to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you enjoy this episode, please leave us a positive rating. Add us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Life in Film Pod, and find our video episodes on YouTube by searching Elliot James Langridge Life in Film. Essentially, please like and subscribe everything. It makes a huge difference. Thank you. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Do you work in the film industry? Are you freelance? Or perhaps you have a 9-to-5? No matter what you do, mental health affects us all. I struggled early on in my career with the uncertainty of if and when I would ever work again, struggling to pay my bills, or simply with anxiety. Don't know about you, but being an actor, it's very important for me to maintain structure in the downtimes, and I found not only exercise, but talking to someone for me was a game changer. And so Life in Film has partnered with BetterHelp to provide you with access to the largest online therapy service in the world. And it can all be done from the comfort of your own home, from a phone, tablet or laptop. No commute, cutting down travel costs, and most importantly, it's affordable. With over 1,000 therapists in the UK, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a wide variety of expertise in mental health. If you need someone to talk to and you're thinking of giving therapy a go, BetterHelp is a great option. And being a listener of the podcast, you get 10% off. That's 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm. That's betterhelp.com/lifeinfilm. And back to the show. One of the things that we usually do on this podcast is a game called 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon. Are you familiar with this game?
Hey, I'm Kevin Bacon.
It's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. I'm Kevin Bacon.
I've heard of it. Yes.
So, and then I realized, actually, I've seen the film. You're in a film with Kevin Bacon, which means we can't play the game because you work with him directly.
Ground zero.
Yeah, you basically are. But I'd love to ask Kevin Bacon. I'm a huge fan of his, and my aim for this podcast from the beginning was to always try and get Kevin Bacon on. That was kind of like just a bit of a laugh. That would be a great kind of thing to aim for. And it's, you know, the podcast has become something so much bigger than I ever thought it would. And we're actually getting close now. But I wanted to ask you, what was it like working with Kevin Bacon? He's one of the greats.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. You know, man, we all have a checklist, right? That people you want to work with. You know what I mean? When I got to work with Anthony, your guy, Anthony Hopkins over there, like you know, De Niro, Bacon has always sneakily been on my list because, and I told him this when we worked. I said, you took on parts that no one else would take on. You look at
100%.
Sleepers, you look at JFK. That dude, I mean, this cat was like taking on, and I always admired that in him. You know what I mean? So there again, he and I went for a nickel basically. John Watts, who's now gone on to
Yeah.
Spider-Man fame.
I couldn't believe that was him, actually. Because I was looking it all up and I was like, oh, like I just didn't connect the dots at all. And then you're like, wow, it just shows you like.
Here's another funny story, man. Here's another inside story. Kevin and I go out to Colorado Springs to do that. We loved it, and we love the piece, and we love John
It's
Watts.
a great film.
I'm real big on gut or whatever, a feeling, you know, you get. And I knew he had kind of greatness. When we started working with him, and I get a call. I'll never forget. I get a call from Kevin Feige and Lou, his partner Lou. I'm sitting at the house, and they're like, Kevin Feige and Lou from Marvel on the phone. I've never done a Marvel. I'm like, oh, all right. And they're like, hey, so listen, we're thinking about. We just saw Cop Car. I'm going. I'm thinking you saw Cop Car. You know, what's the correlation? What's the connection? And they go, we just saw it. We're thinking about hiring John Watts for Spider-Man. What do you think about? You know, and I was like, I can't say enough good about this guy. It's a feeling. It's not just a feeling anymore. I'd worked with him. I said Kevin and I loved him, and so he got that based on $1 million film, and then, but he was ready for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Yeah.
That is funny that was the movie that they saw and they were like, yeah, this guy do Spider-Man. Like that's such a different thing, but I mean they were completely right because he's smashed it out of the gates. But
I kid him now, man, and I'm like, I think last week I was talking to him, and I was like, so now you got Clooney and Pitt, and you haven't used us again, man. Why is that?
what's
Keep
going
going
on there? You say you haven't worked for Marvel, but I mean, I guess because you're in the new Spider-Man, but into the Spider-Verse sequel, right?
Yeah.
But I'm confused because I know there's different branches of it. I'm guessing that must still be Marvel, but
I don't know about all that. I'm not sure. To be honest with you, man, I didn't realize how big Spider-Verse into this is. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I got asked by the producers. They said, "Would you come in and be the voice of Gwen's father?" And two of my kids were like, "Dad, you got to do this, man," because I may have passed. I just may have said, I don't know. And so then they showed me Spider, you know, this first one, and I marveled at it. Like it was unbelievable. And then we went in there, man, and started working on it. And it's one of the great pleasures that I didn't know I was going to have. It's amazing. The film is like, it's amazing.
I mean, the versatility there, I mean, is very different from Boardwalk Empire to, you know, Into the Spider-Verse, very different things. But you've also got the 1883 as well coming out, which
No, actually, sorry to correct you. That's part of Taylor's. I'm doing something called Bass Reeves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I got that. I think IMDb's like, I don't know, because there's so many spin-offs, but it said that. But sorry, what's it
Oh, did
called?
it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have somebody take care of that for me.
Yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
Have a look at the credits. So
Have
which
my publicist work on that
yeah,
for me.
which project is it you're doing with Taylor Sheridan?
It's called Bass Reeves. It's a story of the first Black American that was deputized here in the United States.
Ah,
It's a It's an amazing story. David Elliot, a Brit, is playing
Ah,
Bass, and I play a tough, uh, a tough character in that piece. Uh, it was
I
very
love
rewarding. Yeah,
that kind of thing. Like Taylor Sheridan has just done such an amazing job going, obviously being an actor and then writing all these incredible shows. And Yellowstone has become, I feel like it was a bit of a sleeper show at first, and then suddenly it became massive, and then there's all these spin-offs as well. So that must be, yeah, what an incredible thing to be
yeah,
a part of.
it's good, man. It's really. I mean, again, I come back to this, and it's not a faux humbleness. I mean it. Like, uh, I I've been really lucky on whether it's big, the biggest stuff like Mission Impossible, or I finished something that I just saw recently called Eileen, where it's an independent, and Thomason McKenzie and myself, and I'm just as proud of that. And then you go on to this Western. It's somewhat of a Western, um, you know, Bass Reeves, or I'm doing American Primeval right now, written by Mark L. Smith and directed by Pete Berg. And it's the most rewarding thing I've character wise I think I've ever done. So
Mm. Oh, wicked.
man, yeah, you just again, man, I think you work. For me, I don't know how everybody else does it. I don't know how anyone else does it. I do my own path, and your path will be your path, and it's you know it's about the work. And if you can do work, I mean, I'm a dinosaur in sense of I believe work can still move people. I believe work can still, you know, um, it's an art form. Acting is an art form, and
Mm.
it can move people to places that they didn't think, or remind people, or you know what I mean. And like, so yeah, I hold on to that, man.
Mm. That's the reward. I mean, it's so rewarding, isn't it? If you can get a part where you really get, as you say, with this part that you're doing at the moment, like if it's something, I mean, it sounds like it's something quite different from what you've done. But I mean, I feel like you have really you've been very versatile and done so many different things. Is there something that is there that one part, the kind of the golden role, something that you've always wanted to do? Is there a part you've wanted to chase and wanted to play? Or do you kind of feel like take it as it comes?
Interesting. It's funny when you say someone else asked me that. Um, I'm not being facetious. I don't really, Elliot, I don't sit around and think like, oh, there's that one part I'd like to play. My whole thing, man, is about challenge. I want to be scared. I want to be challenged. And you, I want to feel that feeling of, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get Liddy. I don't know if I'm ready for Boardwalk. It might be too big of a moment, you know what I mean? But then you
Mm.
figure it out. And so I constantly I like that going in, going, oh shit, I'm in trouble. I'm in deep waters here, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And so that. I don't know. I I enjoy the challenge of I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't want to sit here and say it could be this or that. I don't long to have, oh yeah, I want to be the lead in so and so. I don't. I If it happens, great. But you know what I mean. I love being alongside Tom in Mission.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
love trying to figure it out and see like that guy is he's unbelievable because he's the biggest movie star in the world, but
Still, as well, still,
still,
it's crazy.
and single-handedly brought cinema back when people thought it was dead.
Mm.
And he still wants you to be great. He wants me to bring what I do, and that kind of stuff with him and McHugh. That's why these things are so good.
Mm.
You know what
Mm.
I mean? That's why Mission is as good as it is, because these guys are cinephiles. They love cinema. They love trying to make it as big and fun as it can be, but also not at the exclusion of character and story. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if I
yeah,
come in with an idea, no matter how crazy it is, we try it, you
yeah.
know?
I mean, I have to say this is something I shouldn't say as a Brit, but I feel like Mission Impossible is what James Bond wishes it was, and I feel like Mission Impossible is the kind of the thing to live up to now, and it really is the spy franchise, the biggest
Well,
spy.
this feels like a trap you're laying for me. I'm not going there. You said it.
Yeah, I'll count me saying all that, and then just you.
Look, man, um, I actually love Bond. I love escape. I love going to the movies. I love getting my popcorn. I love getting my fucking Coke and here we go. And we get to, you know what I mean? I love it. And I think most of the time when you get to 6, 7, 8, things are running on fumes. You know what I mean?
Mm,
It's a money grab. That's the exact opposite of Tom and Chris McQuarrie. These guys, I mean it, man. We were shooting. They were shooting as of 10 days ago something that they weren't exactly happy with. You know what I mean? And it was the smallest moment. No one would ever know, but to those two guys, it mattered. You know.
mm,
So
mm.
um, how it came about was again. This is another great story that I can't believe happened to me. I did a piece called Homecoming with Julia Roberts. I don't know if you saw this,
I
but
haven't seen it. I do. I want to see it though. I want to see it.
Sam Esmail, another incredible young cinema mind. So I'm doing this, and so I do this, and it's a character like you wouldn't recognize. I haven't played a lot, and so I go to this party. I go to one party a year. It's just this, and it's this party that happens around the Golden Globes, and it's a party you can kind of let loose and have a drink, but it's they have really interesting people, many people there. So I see McQuarrie across the room. I didn't know Chris. I see him across the room, and he sees me, and we both go and we meet in the middle. And I said, I'm not going to be too cool for school here, man. I love, I love your stuff. And he's like, I just saw you in Homecoming. Holy shit, And I said, thank you. Let's talk more about you. And he said, we'll do that. We'll do that. So we go our separate ways. And the next night, we had both luckily been up for some award, and we found ourselves in back of each other. My wife and he and his wife. And he says to me, you know what? I'm going to write something for you in Mission. I said, oh, okay,
Wow.
thinking it would never happen. That was in January. In December, I kid you not, I'm not embellishing this at all. That a whole calendar years goes on, and my phone goes off, and it's a text. It says, "Is this still you, McHugh?" And I go, "Oh shit!" I look at my phone, and I'm like, "It is." He goes, "I'll be calling from a European number. Answer in 5 minutes." So,
It's like Mission
so,
Impossible.
it was just like that. So I yell out. I mean, it buckled me. I'm like, this is either really, really good or really, really bad. You know what I mean? There's not going to be any middle. So I go like this. I said, babe, to my wife, McHugh's calling me about something. So he calls me. I'm up in my upper register. Hello? He goes, listen, I've got somebody who wants to speak to you right now. And I go, okay. He goes, hey, Shea, it's Tom Cruise. And I'm telling you, Elliot, I'm dying. I'm lying. If I'm lying, I'm dying. I get like choked up, like it buckles me. And I'm like, hey Tom, how you doing? He's like, listen, I watched some of Homecoming. The Cube pushed it my way. How'd you like to be a part of the team? How'd you like to come aboard Mission Impossible? I tell you,
Yeah.
I had to hold the phone away from me because it it's you have these seminal moments, the Scorsese moment with Boardwalk. You have a couple of them in this, and I was like, yeah, I would, whatever, you know what I mean? I would, whatever you have for me to do, we went on to talk about, and from there it's become an amazing relationship. Um,
Man, that's
I love being
crazy.
on set with them, and these guys are like, yeah, so it's amazing. And they're both just, I can't, I can't do it justice how much they mean to me.
Yeah. Oh man, that's incredible. That's one of those, as you say, seminal moments, and I can only imagine what that's surreal for anyone, because Tom Cruise has been around for so long that it's like he is the biggest movie star on the planet and has
Yeah.
been for so long. That's incredible. Well, mate, I wish you all the very best with the film. I'm not that you're going to need it, because I think it's going to do pretty well.
Most embarrassing moments, yeah.
I'm doing my, I don't know, something. I haven't thought about this obviously until just now. I'm doing uh, my third thing ever. Schumacher had called me after Tigerland and said, "You want to work with the greats, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd like to." He goes, "How would you like to work with Anthony Hopkins and Chris Rock?" And he said, "I need you to get on a plane tomorrow and get to Prague." I'm living in New York at the time. I get on the plane. I haven't done any big movies. I've done Tigerland, and then something really really small, and then this is my biggest one. So I had no idea about set etiquette, how to handle myself on the set. So I get over there, first day I land, I meet Hopkins, Rock. They're filming. It's time to go to lunch, right? I'm like, okay, let's go to lunch. So I see Chris Rock jump in his car, and I just figure, oh, we're all going to lunch. And I jump in the back seat of his SUV. And I'm sitting there and I don't realize I don't at now and they're all kind of looking at me. And I'm like, so we going to lunch or what? And the dude next to me, his security's like, "Hey man, this is Chris's car." And I said, "Oh man." I thought everybody just jumped in and went to set, did that. And so I go, okay. So I learned very quickly, the big, you have your own car and all
That's
that. So
amazing. That
yeah,
is amazing.
I told him, yeah. I said,
Perfect. This has been absolutely brilliant, and thank you so much for taking the time, man. It's inspirational, and I've really really enjoyed chatting to you.
good luck to you, my brother.
Thanks so much, man. All the best. Take care.
See ya. Bye.
Cheers, man. Bye.
It's a Life in Film, motherfucker. Subscribe and like and follow.
Thank you to our guest Shea, and thank you to his team at Imprint PR. And as always, thank you to our sponsor, BetterHelp.